In this video, we will be reviewing the full listings platform. This is going to cover searching for sale listings, for lease listings, SEBA CMAs, and property records. From that search, we'll also show you how to manage your search results, how to create reports, how to create lists from those, also how to save that search to establish email alerts should you want to get any new items that pop up matching that in the future. We'll also go over listing management. That's going to take you from creating listings and property records into managing those listings and property records as well. We'll also show you how to manage your profile. And then we'll also go over the email marketing tools that are available to you within the listings platform. Keep in mind, this video does not cover business opportunities as that's housed on the SEBA main page. If you would like to see some steps on how to search for business opportunities and also how to manage your business opportunity listings, you can find those under the Research and Listings tab and selecting Training and Reference Guides. There are a few different ways that we can launch the listings platform. I'll show you where all of those are first before we move forward. If you wanted to jump directly into managing your listings, you could click this Welcome Common Name menu and select My Sell/Lease Listings, and that would take you directly into the listing management page. If you wanted to just open the listings platform and access your broker dashboard, you could do so using this light blue Moody's CRE dashboard button. And lastly, the one that we would be doing today is if you wanted to jump directly into searching once you've logged in, if you click this orange search commercial listings button, that's going to pull you into the search map here. I'm using my test account, so you can see it's now branded with my SEBA instructor information, and we've got this toolbar at the top. And it's also taken us into the search map. So the first thing we're going to get familiar with is just how to use the search map as a search filter. So as you start to zoom in, you'll start to see a Google Earth or a Google Map view. And this is because the system is fully integrated with Google Maps. And as you zoom in on the map, it's updating this geolocation that you're looking at. So that acts as a filter itself. And the more zoomed in you are, the less results you're going to see over on the right. And you can see those number of properties is going down the closer I zoom in as well. So I've zoomed into an area. You can start to see as I get even closer to all the little dots that have colors on them are going to start to have a letter on them. That's just because each dot indicates a specific asset class. So you can see here my yellow dots now have M's, that's for multifamily. The L or the purples have L's for land. There's red O's for office, orange S for specialty, blue I's for industrial, green R's for retail. If ever there's a time you don't remember what those little dots means, over on your results, you'll see above the photos, it also tells you what they are. As you can see, anything that says office is red, and then the multifamilies are yellow. Another great way to remember which is if you go to this type tab, it does indicate what those are here. Keep in mind, those little dots just indicate the primary asset class of the property, not necessarily the asset class of the listing, and we'll go over that a little bit more here. The last thing that I want to show you as you're zooming into is that you can grab this little peg man over here and just drop him into the street to get a 360-degree view of the area. This just lets you know that you're looking in the right place, or it also lets you see a better image of the building. I'm going to go ahead and just hit the back button to get us back now. So that's the basics of how to zoom in and use that geolocation as a search filter. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more and show you a few other ways you can use the map as a search filter too. And that's going to be with this draw shape and draw radius tool. So if you click draw shapes, you'll be able to drop your pin and make your shape. Once you finish, it'll close, and then you can click apply shape. Now only results within the shape that I've just drawn are going to appear in my results over here on the right. And you can draw as many or as few of those as you'd like by clicking draw another shape. Just going to make the next shape I want here, and then I can click apply shape. Now that I've drawn my second shape, all of those items within that have been added to my search results here. You can clear your shapes at any time by clicking clear shapes. Draw radius function works the same way as the draw shapes does, and you just simply click draw radius to get that started and drop the pin where you'd like the center of your radius to appear. Based on how zoomed out or zoomed in you are on the map, the size of your radius is going to differ. I'm pretty zoomed in, so it's got a mile here. If I drag this in, it'll reduce the size of my radius, so you can see it's gone down to 0.5 now. Once I click apply radius, only the properties within the radius are going to appear in my results over here on the right. Just like with shapes, you can draw as many or as few as you'd like. I'm going to click draw another radius. I'll drop my pin over here. It started me at 1 mile again. Let's make that pretty small. Once I've got that to the size I want, I can click apply radius. And now anything within that second radius is going to appear in my results over here on the right. Just like with shapes, we can clear those at any time by clicking clear radii. The last kind of location filter that we're going to go over is actually on this locations tab here. I'm going to zoom us out a little bit more so we can see more of the state. Okay, great. Now that we've zoomed out, you can see my number of properties has significantly increased. So now we'll go back to location. For the location tab, you can search for city, you can search for state, you can search for postal codes or counties. I'll show you just a few different ways that this works. So I'm going to type in just Seattle. Once I type in Seattle, you can see my number of properties has dwindled down pretty significantly and it zoomed me into the Seattle area. You can add as many or as few of these as you'd like. So I can add in Kent. Now my number of properties is going to increase. My map's zoomed a little bit differently. I'm going to go ahead and remove both of those. You can also search by just zip codes if you'd like to do that. So I'm going to start to just type those in. And you can add as many or as few of these as you'd like just by, as you start to type them in, they'll appear in the drop-down menu below. Click on them to get them applied. And then once you've got those both applied, again, my map's going to zoom out so I can see both of them. And my results over here on the right have been updated. Just a few of the different ways that you can search for location on the search platform. I'm going to go ahead and move forward on the next filters. Some things that we do like you to keep in mind here is that less is always more. So the fewer search filters that you apply, the more results you're going to see. Each filter acts as an and, not an or. If you apply too many filters, they may cancel one another out. So we do suggest starting your search pretty broad and then narrowing it down from there. I'm going to go ahead and go over here to type now. Right now, I don't have any type selected, so I'm just looking at all of the property records we have available in these areas. Once I select for sell and for lease, you'll see not only do I show the number of properties that I can see, but I also show a number of listings now. I do have a pretty broad area that I'm looking at, so I do have quite a few listings. As I start to add in my search filters, these will go down quite a bit. Another thing to keep in mind here on this types tab is that there's this space use in this property/building. Space use is going to be anything the listing has been marked that it can be used as. Each listing can have up to 3 different space uses selected, and property/building is going to just be the primary use of the property. So you'll see when I select office under space use, I've got quite a few listings, but I also have these multifamily properties still, and you can see over here, I've also got a little green R. And this is just because you can have office space in these larger buildings. Maybe in this one, it's primary multifamily, there might be an office space at the bottom of the building. If you had selected office as your property type versus your space use, you wouldn't see that multifamily property. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead back to type. You can see here that I'm searching for office space in all types of buildings. If I was to remove that office space and instead did it as property/building, my results are going to differ. So you can see I no longer have access to that multifamily or retail space. My number of listings has changed. So just keep that in mind when you're searching. We typically suggest users use space use when you're searching for lease listings and property/building when you're searching for sale listings. I'm going to go ahead and deselect the office there. I'm going to add it back just to space use here. Going further over, we've got price/size. Keep in mind if you don't see something here that you think you should, it's likely just that you don't have the right asset class selected. So be sure that you start with type so that you have access to the other categories over here. One thing I do suggest keeping in mind is that when you're filling these in, you just select the appropriate formula so that you're not looking for the total dollars per month and your dollars per square foot per year or per month. And then again, you can expand any of these out as you'd like. The fewer search filters you put in, the more results you will have again. You can fill in loan information. Over here under this More tab is one of the ones we get a lot of questions about, and that's going to be this pending listings over in the corner. So you can see if you scroll down, you can choose to exclude pending. Pending is technically an available asset class type, so those will still show up in your search results until you go into that More tab and click exclude pending. Some additional ones here, you can search for listings by the agent name. If they don't or if they don't pop up right away, you can just continue typing in their name. And then anything that matches that will start to appear in your list down below here. And you can select just that specific agent's listings if you'd like. And the same can be said for when you're searching for the company names. You can search by zoning code here too. So it's really up to you which filters you apply. The last item here is this keyword. This is really intuitive, and we do suggest that if you're using a keyword, you use that as your primary search filter. And then once that's been filled in, you see which results you already have, then you go back in and add your additional search filters as well. I'm going to show you one more thing. So I'm going to go ahead and take out exclude pending. That's the basics on searching for active listings. But the last thing I do want to show you is how to access our SEBA CMA search. So those are going to be sell listings that were researched by our SEBA staff. I'm going to go ahead and go back to sold. That's going to take us into anything that's sold. And then I'm going to go over to price/size and do only confirmed prices. Those two filters will get you into the SEBA CMAs. The last thing that we do suggest that you apply as well when you're doing this is to go over to more and add in a date sold range. If you don't do this, you'll see everything that's ever closed in the system. So you'll have a lot of listings that have closed further out than you need them to. So depending on how recent you want them to be, you can just add in a start date range here. I'm going to go ahead and close that out, and I'm going to go back to my type. I went ahead and took out the 98101 just so we would have a little bit fewer results to manage to make this next process easier as we go through managing these search results. You can see here now that I've made those changes, I've only got 3 properties with 3 listings. So that'll allow us to kind of switch through the views a little bit easier than when I had 600 matching listings. So the next thing, now that we've done our search and we've got those dwindled down, is going to be how to manage your results. So what I'm going to start with is just this listing or this property record here. Once I click on that, it's going to open up. It's going to show me some property highlights, and I can view more details about this property by clicking view details here. Down below that, you'll also see what's currently available. So that's going to be the active listings at this property. Before I show you how to look at those, I will show you some information about those property reports. So I'm just going to click view details here. What that's going to do is take me into a preview of the property. I can see some property information. If I go over to listings, I can see anything active here. I can also see any off-market listings under history if I was to click that and they were there. Further over, if there's any tenant information, you'll find that there. Any contact information, some location details, and some performance indicators. This is automatically applied from our tech partner, Moody's. It's not something that we can adjust, but it's the asking rent if all the key performance indicators are going properly. Down towards the bottom of all of these pages, you'll see an add to list button, an edit to suggest edits, or this reports button here. I'm going to click reports. This is going to generate the same as if we were pulling a listing report later, but I did want to show you this because you have access to geospatial reports when you've got only one property open or one property selected. In these, you can view demographics by radius, drive time. You can see a really nice infographic. You can see retail logos, traffic counts, and EPA information. Pull the demographic information, the retail logos, just so you can see what these look like. Sometimes this takes a moment to generate for us. Once that does generate, you can choose to copy the link to include in the body of an email, or you can view it to download it and then upload to the body of your email. Here's my demographic infographic. And then when I scroll further down, we've got some retail logos. This is managed by us, so if ever there's a time you need to make a change, feel free to reach out to the SEBA staff and we can add those on for you. That should be both national and regional retailers. I'm going to go ahead and close that out now. We don't need to preview much more of that. You're welcome to include that in any of your marketing. It's available for most, if not all, properties. I'm going to go ahead and hit the back button now. That takes us back to our preview. Again, that's the property details up at the top. And then as you scroll down, it's got the listing details, and you can create individual listing reports. If you click view details, it'll also take you to a larger view of the listing information. I'm going to hit the back button again. I'm going to close this out. And that's the basics on how to view the property and listing details. I do want to also show you now how to change the view that you're looking at. The primary view when you open your search is going to be the map view. All that means is that the map is on the left and your search results are on the right. We've got a few other views that you can access by clicking this map view button here. You can switch that into the list view. When you deselect group by property, it does tell you a little bit more information. And you can also apply sorting methods in any of the other views outside of map view. So this one's sorted automatically by the off market date, but you can change how this is selected. So you can see you can sort by size, by the address, you can sort by city, clearance, broker information, price information, and then that's kind of the gist as far as the list view goes. Once I click the drop down there, it's going to take me to grid. Looks almost identical to the map view, except for the map's not on the left. You're just seeing the results over here. You can also sort this. Same sorting methods are available for you there. The last one here is going to be this table view. And this allows you to select which columns you're seeing. So if you have a client who's looking for some really specific data, you can select the appropriate columns that match what they're looking for to make this review process a little bit easier for you. You can choose to view this on a property or a listing level. And you can apply columns to both of those. So I just go over here to edit columns. You can select or deselect all of the ones that are most important to your client here. You can save this configuration and call it your client's name so that you know which one you're coming back to later. I'm not going to save this one because I have a few test ones already. I'm just going to go ahead and cancel. If ever there's a time you need to access a configuration you've already got saved, you would just go back to that edit columns, and down towards the bottom here, you've got use a saved configuration. And you can select the appropriate configuration you want there, and then it'll apply that for you here. So again, that's to quickly view just some basic details of the listing that are most important to your client. I'm going to go ahead and take us back to the map view just because I think it's the most common one our users use. So once you previewed your results and you know which ones you like and want to move forward on, you can select the individual listings here, or you can choose to select all at the top here if all of them you want to include on a report. Once you've got those selected, it'll tell you the number of properties and listings you have selected, and then you can create your report. You can see now those geospatial reports that I showed you on the property level are no longer available. That's just because multiple property records have now been selected. I'm going to go ahead and go over these reports just a little bit here. So this first page is going to be your PDF report types. This is going to be some summary information for the property. You've also got the SEBA brochure, some listing information, and then if you have some SEBA CMAs, you may have more reports available here. You've also got a Google Earth report that you can pull this parcel analysis. Keep in mind, you do have to have an existing Google Earth account in place in order to pull that report. But if you do have that, that is available for you here. And there's also a summary and single line Excel report that you can pull too. I'm going to go back to the general reports now. Something to keep in mind here is based on the number of listings or properties that you have selected, the reports that you have available to you are going to differ. So keep in mind, if you have over 25 listings and they all have flyers, you will need to include broker flyers on those. If you've got over 50 results, you might just see some of the summary and one-liner and cover page. If you've got over 100, you may just see the cover page and the one-liner option. And if you have over 250 results, you're going to have to find a way to split that report into two. So maybe drawing a shape around half and then drawing a shape around the other half so that you can split that up and get it under that 250 threshold. I'm going to go ahead and just select the SEBA brochure. This report was designed specifically for SEBA members. It's going to be the only report that tells you the days on market. It's also the only report that provides the compensation information. We're going to go ahead and give that moment to load. Again, you can copy the link to attach or to include in the body of an email, or you can click the view button here to pull a PDF version of that report. You can see here, it's got the information. I chose to include the broker information. It's got the days on market over here in the listing information section. And then the compensation is going to be included at the bottom of this report here. I'm going to go ahead and close that out now. It's just a preview of what that looks like. I'm going to close this now too. That's the basics on how to manage your search results and create reports. The next thing we're going to do is maybe you might want to create a list. A list functions basically like a cart for your clients. So I'm going to keep these same three properties selected, and I'm going to go ahead and just click Save to List. You can see I've got some existing lists here, but I'm going to go ahead and just call it New List. I've just called it today's date in video 5.8. I'm going to go ahead and click save. Once I click save, it's giving me that notice at the bottom that my listings have been saved to my list. You can access your list at any time on this toolbar up here by clicking lists. I can see my newest ones at the top. It's got my created date, sorted by modified date. I'm going to go ahead and go into my video. And then this is my list. You can add new listings to this. You can remove them by deselecting the listings. Maybe something's pending and you don't want to show that anymore. You can take it off by deselecting it. You've also got a way to sort these manually. This is the only place that you can do that. So maybe you know your client might prefer this listing, so you'd like to put that in first place for them. You can do so, and then you can save it. Once you save it, you can create a report. These reports are going to be the same as they were on the search map itself, and then they'll appear in the order in which you put them in on the list. I'm going to go ahead and just go back now. Another great option here is you can choose to share your list and get a shareable link. Once you create this link, you can send that to your client. And as you update this list, the items on that link are going to update as your list changes as well. So maybe they let you know they no longer want a listing. You can take it off and then it won't pop up for them anymore on their list. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing link just because we don't need to keep that live, but that's how you would change it. You would just go back to share and then stop sharing link. Now I'm going to go back to our search. And let's say this is a search I know I'm going to want to come back to, or maybe I want to get email alerts for it. We can do that. You would simply go to saved searches and then save your current search. You'll give it a name. And then you can establish an email frequency. You can choose to get those never, immediately, daily, or weekly. You can also choose to CC your client on these. We do suggest that prior to adding your client as a recipient for these emails, that you first get a copy of it and see what that looks like, just because you can't adjust the information that the client is seeing there. So you may want to get that email alert sent to you first, review it, and then forward it to your client. But it's definitely up to you how you choose to do that. This is live, so I'm not going to establish an email frequency. I'm just going to save it. Now that I saved my search, when I go back to save searches and I click view saved searches, I can always go back to this at any time. These are sorted alphabetically. I've got quite a few videos here, but you can see my new ones down here. I do suggest that if you do have email alerts set up and you feel like you haven't gotten one, but you should, a great place to go to look at this is going to be, instead of viewing all matches, looking at anything newer. So if you hadn't gotten anything in the last week, but you felt like you should have, you would be able to go to this drop-down menu, click new last week, and then click search. And if there's no results, that just tells you there's nothing that would have matched it. So you shouldn't have gotten an email. I do always suggest, if you're not getting those save search email alert emails, that first you go there and look and make sure your search should have yielded some results. That's the basics as far as searching goes. We're going to go ahead and move into listing management now. And then I can just quickly jump into that by this blue toolbar up here and just clicking my listings. The first thing we're going to do is just get you familiar with the My Listings page. This white toolbar at the top is going to look really familiar. It functions the same way that it does on the search map. However, instead of searching for other listings, you're searching just your listing inventory. Going further down, you can jump into adding a listing. You can verify your listings. You can pull a file of your listings. You can view your leads. You can view traffic. This section here is going to be how you pull your listings by status. It does default to show you just your active listings, but you can toggle any of the appropriate off-market types to start having those pop up for you. So you can see as I added them in, I've got significantly more properties and listings available to view. Going further to the right, all of the listings are condensed at the properties that they belong to. So if you wanted to expand them, you can do individual properties by clicking show number of listings. Or if you wanted to expand all of your properties with all of the listings at all of your properties, you would just click expand all here. You can also choose how you want these sorted. They are defaulted to sort by modified date, but you can change that here, just like you could on any of the other tabs. Now that we've went over how to navigate this My Listings page, we're going to go through the process of adding a listing. I'm going to go ahead and click add a listing here. I'm just going to pull up the search to look for the property record that we want to add our listing to. I'm going to go ahead and start typing the address of our old office building. We've just got some good test properties over here, so I like to do it over here. As you start typing in your address, any results that match are going to pop up in the drop-down menu below. You just select the most appropriate one. That's either going to take you to your property record or nearby. This one does suggest this building is actually the right one that I would add it to, but I've got some test properties here that I'll change, adding my listing to there. But one thing I did want to show you is you can see all of these parcels when I hover over them and they have a letter that indicates there's already a property record there. If ever there was a time that there wasn't, you would just simply hover over your parcel and instead of seeing a gray circle with a letter, you would see a question mark. To create a property record, you just simply click on that. I'm going to go ahead and just call this and tell my staff that it's my name so they don't get this approved. I'm going to go ahead and create property. Once I do that, it's going to load and it's going to let me know a new property's been created. We do suggest that prior to moving into adding a listing after you create your property record, that you go through the process of making updates here. So you can see there's, I need to add a type. As I add in my type, my fields that are available to me are going to change. So you can see now that I switch it from land, there's building status available. Some things to keep in mind here. The only fields that are required are the ones that are either indicated with a little red dot or in red text. If you want to make a change to this, it's going to tell you you have to fill all those fields in before you can save this change. I'm just going to call it under construction. We'll say no. I'm just going to fill in some kind of test details here so you can see what happens once I get this saved later. Now that I've made all the required changes, I can go ahead and hit save. Once I hit save, it lets me know that I'm submitting an official change. So what happens once you create or edit an existing property record is that you need to submit a change to the SEBA staff to review. In this note here, this is simply going to the SEBA staff and can allow that process to move a little bit easier. So if your building's been remeasured or something like that, this is a great place to put that information as to why you're making a change to the size of the property. Maybe it doesn't match the information on the county records. This will allow you to quickly pop that information in so that we don't have to email you once that change is requested. It just saves you a little bit of time. Once I submit my change, it's going to let me know that my changes have been submitted down below. I'm going to hit the back button now to get us back to the search map. And I'm going to show you what happens if you choose to add a listing to a property that already has a property record. I'm just going to go back to searching for my property record. That's the accurate property record, but I want to use one of my test property records instead. So I'm going to click on this one. I know it's a test one. I'm going to go ahead and click add a listing now. Once I do that, it's going to show me a preview of the property record, and I can choose to move forward with creating a listing, or I can click this edit property record button here. Once you add a property record, it's already been added. So then at that point, you're editing the property record. So this page functions exactly how it went over when we just added that new one. I'm going to hit the back button again. So let's say I like this property record. It looks good. I don't need to make a change. I can go ahead and jump into create new listing. From here, this is going to look really similar, except for instead of adding property information, we're adding listing information. Based on the type and primary use that we have selected, our fields are going to differ. So make sure that you have the one that you want selected prior to going in and editing all these fields. I'm going to keep it for lease. Some things to keep in mind here that we get a lot of questions on. The title just simply needs to be whatever you want it to be. It can be really brief marketing remarks. You can call it the address. We see that a lot, or the building name. The listing date and expiration date should come directly from the listing agreement. One thing I hadn't pointed out yet, over here on the left, there's this blue box, and as you toggle between the different fields, the information that it's asking you for will be kind of demoed there. It'll let you know what that field's looking for. Scrolling further down here, the compensation information should be coming directly from your listing agreement, and that information should be just the whatever the split to the outside broker is, not the full amount. Here is another section where keeping in mind formula is going to be really important. So that if you want to enter your dollars per square foot per month, you're selecting that versus entering it as the dollars per square foot per year. You can choose to select negotiable here, and that will gray out the field. So if you don't have an asking rent, you can mark that as negotiable there. Scrolling further down, you can add listing remarks. You can add additional agents that are SEBA members by clicking Add Secondary and Tertiary Agent, and then you can start typing in their name. And as you start typing in, only the matches are going to appear here. And it'll add them by company. I'm going to scroll further down. You can add floor plans and PDFs and video links. This listing photo one is where we get a lot of questions. Common listing photos are going to be photos that can be applied to any listing that your company has in this property. So if you have suites A, B, C, and D, and the image can be applied to all of those suites, you would add it as a common listing photo. If you have photos just specifically for listing B, you would add that as a listing specific photo for suite B when you add suite B. Let's say I wanted to save this and I had all my fields filled and I could click saved. Just like we saw when we created a property record, I don't have all the required fields filled in, so I can't submit that listing. If this comes up, it's letting you know which information is missing on that box that appeared, but then all of the fields that aren't filled in are required. It's going to update those to red for you and you can populate that information in there now. I've got quite a few test listings already, so I'm not going to go through that process. I'm just going to go back to this My Listings button here. I'm going to remove my off-market listings so we just see our active listings. And now we're going to go through the process of listing management. Now that we're back on the My Listings page, I'm going to go through how to manage your active listings. So again, the listing is condensed at the property record it exists at. You can click the show number of listing or listings here, or you can click expand all to expand all of the listings at all of the property records you have listings at. I only have one, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to go ahead and hit show listing here. Now that you've expanded your listings, you can choose to edit the listing. That's going to take you into a screen that looks pretty similar to the screen that we just saw when we were adding a listing. You can view your listing here. You can promote here. That's going to be to generate a report or request a broadcast. You can see your listing traffic. Just a test listing, so there's not a lot of information here. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a report to show you what it would look like if there were activity on the listing. This here are the different listing traffic reports. You've got views, which is just the total number of views on your listing based on the date. Locations are where your listing's being viewed, so that's just going to be where the IP address is associated with where your listings are being opened or coming from. And then sources are just different website links that they can be opened from. They all are coming from us. All of these four, they're the same. You just might see slightly different names. Again, they're all SEBA, just different places they can be opened by our tech partner. I'm going to click the back button now. You can see you've got a verify button. All listings should be updated or verified every 30 days. You've also got a duplicate button here. So if you've got suites A, B, C, and D, and you only wanted to update the suite information on those, you could just click this duplicate button here. It's letting me know you're creating a new and separate listing with all the same information. Here I can just make my small changes. Maybe I have a price for this one, and my square footage is being updated. I can make those simple changes, then I can click save. This lets me know that I'm submitting a new listing. So I didn't show you this before, but this is letting me know that if I want it to be available to everyone that is on the public site, if you did want this to be private, you can choose to make it only available for SEBA members and the members in your office. So that's private and not visible on the public page. That's all that means. I'm going to click cancel here. This isn't a listing I need to make because again, I do already have a test listing. I'm going to go back now. There is an option to remove a listing here. Keep in mind, we don't delete historical information. So what you would do instead of that is you would just go over to available, click change status, and then you can go ahead and withdraw this listing. I'm not going to do that. Again, I do need a test listing here. I'm going to go ahead and hit the back button now. These buttons here are going to look kind of similar to the ones we just saw. So you've got the edit, which is where we were previously. View is going to pull a detail report for your listing. Promote, you're going to have options to generate a report or request a broadcast. And then you can hit the see traffic button here again too. We've also got leads reports that I didn't show you before. So this will allow you to view the leads based on the property that you have the active listings at. So you can either view it on an all property level or individual. And then you can view it on a listing level if you had multiple listings. I only have one, so it's only giving me one option. It will tell you here if someone's filled out the contact form or emailed you, it'll let you know that they've done that here. It'll also let you know if they've downloaded the flyer. Again, this listing doesn't really have any of that information just because it's only a test listing and likely isn't showing up in any searches. And that's the basics on listing management. The next thing we're going to go over is how to use your email marketing tools that are available. I know on the My Listings page, I did mention sending a broadcast email from there. I'm going to go through how to do that on the actual email tab here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click this email button here on the toolbar. So this takes me into my email dashboard. You can see you can establish preferences, which we'll do a little bit later. If you've got any sent emails, you'll have a history of that here. It'll tell you the date they were sent, where it's at. So if it's queued to go out, it'll tell you if it's queued. If it's been sent, it'll tell you that it's been sent or sending. It'll tell you what type of email, so broadcast, and then the subject line that you created will appear there. The number of recipients and how many of those recipients opened it, you'll see there. It'll also allow you to click on it and preview what that broadcast email looked like. You can go ahead and click New Listing Broadcast to send a new one. Keep in mind, all broadcast emails, nope. Keep in mind that each listing can be sent out once every 4 weeks, and each broker can send out up to 4 broadcast emails a day. From here, you'll select the property that you want to send a broadcast email for. You can click Next. Here you can select how many listings that you want to include in this broadcast email. You can choose multiple at once. If you have any flyers, you can choose to include those as well. I'll click the Next button here. What that's going to do is allow me to customize the information here. I can add new language into subject line. I can change my title. If you have comments, the message is going to pull directly from your listing comments. I don't have any, and it's not going to let me proceed until I add a message to the body of this email. Now that I've added that and clicked out of it, I can then click Next. What this is going to do is render a preview for me. Something to keep in mind here is if there's a change you need to make to the property record, like the photo or something like that, that's not something we can change after you submit the request. So you would want to go back to edit the property record and change that photo or send a message to the staff asking us to change that for you. And we would be able to process that for you. And then once that's been done, then you can submit a request. The broadcast emails will go out exactly as they look when you submit this request. So just keep that in mind. And the notes to the researchers, that can be something really simple like 4-week broadcast or monthly broadcast or price reduction. That's just going to us on the SEBA staff. So you don't want to put any like marketing remarks there. That should go in your messaging. That note to the researcher is just something simple letting us know why it should go out. Once you add in your note, you can click submit. I don't need to do that because this is live and it'll go to my team. But once you've done that, typically broadcast emails are approved within 1 to 2 hours of them being submitted during business days. I'm going to go ahead and close that out, and I'm going to go over to need/want. So while a broadcast email is telling the membership about a listing that you do have, a need/want is telling the membership about a listing that you're looking for. So typically you would come here after you've performed a search on your end already and just start getting great results. So you can go ahead and select the type of listing that you're looking for, the asset class that you're looking for. If you've got a subtype, you can select that there, your location. Going to function just like it does everywhere else. And you start to type in, it'll pop up and you can add as many RSV of those as you'd like. And then you just click on them like you do in the search and it'll add them as filters. Once you do that, you can give it a title. This just suggests looking for X amount of square feet of asset class space. And then in the descriptions where you'll want to be really specific. Again, typically you're coming here after you've performed a search on your own and just aren't getting great results. So the more specific you can be in the description, the better the responses back from the membership are going to be for you so that you're not fielding a bunch of listings that just don't match your needs. I'm going to go ahead and hit this email history back button now. I don't need to send one of these out. It's live. Just wanted you to know where that was. The last thing we're going to cover regarding our emails is going to be establishing our email preferences. I'm going to go ahead and click on that here. What that takes me into is my email preferences. You can add any subscriptions. This is going to be opting into or out of receiving broadcast emails. The area of interest is going to work just like location did everywhere else. So you can type that in. Unfortunately, you can only add one at a time. So if you are looking for all of an area, that might be easier than looking at all the different zip codes, but that's up to you. You can select the asset class you're looking for and then the type of listings you're looking for, and then you can add as many or as few of those as you'd like. Going further down, you can opt into or out of receiving those needs/wants emails. You can opt into or out of receiving leads emails. You can opt out of broadcast entirely here. You can opt out of messaging from the Moody's team. Down here below, you can add some secondary emails. So an alternate email address, maybe you have an email address you would prefer these to go to instead of the one associated with your SEBA account. You can type that in here and change that. If you'd like maybe your admin to receive copies of that, but you'd still like to receive those emails to the email address attached to your SEBA account, you can add them as a copied email address. The last section here is blocked senders. Maybe there's a broker who's sending out a ton of broadcast emails that just don't match your preferences, even though you've got them really defined. You can choose to block that sender from sending you system emails. It's not going to block them from sending emails from their Outlook to your Outlook. It's just going to block their broadcast emails from going to you within the system. They won't be notified of it. It's just one extra layer of specifications for you here in your email marketing tools within the system itself. Now that we've wrapped up email marketing tools, we'll go over the broker dashboard and profile tools that are available to you. No matter which page you are on the listings platform, if you have this Powered by Newies button, that's going to take you into your broker dashboard. I'm going to click on that now. Broker dashboard. You can see that blue toolbar we've seen in all the videos is up at the top there. We've got my profile information here, SEBA instructor. At the top, you can jump directly into searching. It'll jump you directly into lease or sell searching, new listing searches, just looking at properties. You can search for all transactions are for us are going to be our sold for sale listings and our leased for lease listings, as well as our SEBA CMAs. You've also got access to any of your saved searches here, so you can jump directly into those. Down below here, you can jump directly into managing your listings. You can add a new listing on this screen. You can manage your listings here. You can view any traffic or leads here as well. Underneath managing your listings, if we scroll further, you've got options to send a listing broadcast. You can post a need/want here. You can adjust your email preferences, and you can jump directly into generating a report. And what that's going to do is take you in and you can create a report based on a list that you have saved or a KML site selector if you have an existing Google Earth account set up. Now that we've done that, I'm going to hit the back arrow to get back to my dashboard. Now that we've gone over our broker dashboard, we're just going to go over the profile tools that you have. You can access these by clicking the down arrow next to your name and your photo. Once you do that, you can jump in directly to managing your listings. You can go into your profile. You don't have access to update all of these tools that are here, but you can see you've got your contact information as well as your office information. Any available listings you have are going to appear in this list down below here. You can suggest edits to some of the information on your profile. If anything is grayed out, you do need to submit that over to our membership team. You can jump directly into managing your listings. And this last button here is going to be to share your profile. If you click on that, it's going to generate a live link that you can add to any of your social medias or your email signatures. What that live link does is it shares your biography and any active public listings that you have to whoever you share it with. And you can, again, choose to include that anywhere you'd like by clicking that copy link button. I'm going to go ahead and just close that because I don't need to do that. The last button on here is going to be my company. Once I click on that, it's going to give me my company information as well as my full roster of agents that are still active at my company. Thank you.